Well, this is Steve Ridgel, and as most of you probably know, I live out in West Texas, but I'm pretty close to the Dallas Fort Worth area. And that's kind of where I grew up. And so, one of the sad things in my life is I love sports. And here's the problem with that I've been a Dallas Cowboy fan for a long time, and well, there were some great years right through Jimmy Johnson, and we won big, and we were a dominant franchise. Jerry Jones bought them. Great owner, became the general manager, and the Cowboys have been stuck in mediocrity since, and will be as long as Jerry Jones runs it. He's just not capable of doing better. He thinks he's smarter than any other general manager, so he continually gets taken, and everybody else trades the fourth round for a good frontline starter. We trade fourth round draft picks for potential quarterbacks that nobody else thinks are any good. He just is not good. But now the other thing, I love the Dallas Mavericks. Luka Doncic. It's been a few weeks now, traded for, well, kind of a bag of beans. So here's my thoughts about that. One is this was not about what you can get for Luka. This was about getting rid of Luka. Now, you can say what a disaster, that's horrible. I'm not naive. I don't live inside the walls of the Dallas Maverick complex. I don't know who's right. I do know Luca's a generational talent. He is. But I also don't know if it really is true that he's a culture killer. That really everybody likes to come because you can pad your stats because Luca's such a great passer, but it's all about Luca. It'll always be if you play for the Mavericks then. Maybe it really was true. It was Luca and whoever, and you'd always be the whoever. Maybe it is true that his conditioning was bad and his some of his habits were going to keep him from being effective long term. Maybe it's true that in 2 or 3 years, Luca will break down, and in 5 years, he'll be a shell of what he was, and he will never be what he could have been. Maybe that's all true. And sometimes I have some sympathy for let's trade the culture killer. I don't care what the talent is, because long term, you're better to build the culture. So maybe that's all right. The issue becomes you didn't really get anything for Luca. This was not okay, Luca's not going to be the answer. So let's trade him, get some assets, rebuild. You didn't get anything really for Luca. You got a superstar who's near the end of his career. Now, if you're right about Luca and he's done in 2 or 3 years, well, that's about the same window you have for Anthony Davis. So maybe that works out sort of. And you got a guy that's going to be a solid rotation player on a championship team. You're not going to build around him, but he's going to be okay. And you got a number one draft pick. I mean, what you got for Luka in many ways is what you get for a nice guy who gets some all-star consideration. And Luka's supposed to be a generational talent. So clearly this trade was about what you got rid of, not what you got. Now, you're thinking, okay, I've heard your stuff. You always talk about things you like, but you always have a Jesus point. Well, and it has made me think. Sometimes the Christian life, we have to make decisions, and it's not about what you get. It is sometimes about what you have to give up. If you really want to follow Jesus, there may be things in your life that have to go if you're going to have a Jesus culture in your life. And that's what I think Luka was. It was clearly a decision about culture, who we want to be and what we want to be. And sometimes in the Christian life, you have to make hard decisions and get rid of things in your life if you want to have the Jesus culture. Now, last thing I'm going to say about Luka, Mavericks, and Jesus, they're not really even in the same level at all, not even close. Christians that are really having their life upset by Luka, okay, really, 100 years from now, who cares? 10 years from now, we may not care, but certainly 100. And 1,000 years from now, it won't matter. Other thing I would tell you is that sometimes a game is just a game. So enjoy it when you can. I hope the Mavericks salvage something. I kind of like Luka, so I hope he has a great career. But most of all, I'm reminded when I look in my life or the things I got to get rid of to follow Jesus, get rid of them. This is Steve Ridgel thinking about Jesus, Luka, and the Mavericks.